Well, hey there. If it is Friday, April 14th, when you are watching this, it's my birthday. And I did not want to miss doing my weekly live stream just because it's a special day in my life. Because talking about this topic, accidental entrepreneurs, is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And many of the people that I work with fall into this category. So, if you didn't listen yet to this week's episode of the Driven Woman Entrepreneur Podcast, it's all about this topic of accidental entrepreneurs. Now, I did not create this name. I'm sure there are other people using it. So I don't know who to credit for coming up with the original reference, but it really seems to suit a lot of people I know, especially women. For one thing, even though entrepreneurship, at least in the online space, is something a lot of people are talking about, and a lot of people, especially in the coaching industry, are encouraging other people to do, the term entrepreneur is being used pretty broadly. Now, if I had everything to do over, I probably wouldn't have added that word entrepreneur to my podcast. Why? Because in truth, a genuine entrepreneur is someone who is launching a company, scaling a company, growing a company, and may very well sell that company. While most of us who refer to ourselves as entrepreneurs, including myself, are actually solopreneurs. We work by ourselves and for ourselves. We might have a team of contractors or virtual assistants. We might even have actual employees, but most of us are working on our own as coaches or consultants. So, however you think about the term entrepreneur, don't miss the really important point about this particular topic, which is this. If you are an accidental entrepreneur, at least in my book, that means that while you may have entrepreneurial traits and perhaps always did, I am definitely one of those, I never actually saw myself being self employed. I mean, not in a serious way where I would actually plan for it, prepare for it, and do it very intentionally. For me, like many women I know, my last two jobs working for others, after getting a master's degree, changing fields, crawling up the food chain over many years, and reaching the position that I actually really wanted, I was laid off at one organization without even the new person meeting me. They hired a new CFO. They came in, they saw my title. I was in a leadership position with a lot of responsibility, and they decided that that position was simply unnecessary. So they redlined it. I've only been laid off once in my life. For some of you, you've been laid off multiple times, depending on the industry. After that, my very last job working for others, I found myself harassed because I stumbled across evidence that the organization I worked for was committing fraud. That made me a potential whistleblower. Now, I never did blow the whistle, and I never filed a lawsuit because I was not a member of a protected category, and the lawyer I consulted with said, if I were you, I'd just quit. So my stumble into self employment was simply because it no longer felt safe, healthy, nor secure for me to rely on others. And I think that's something that has changed over the last few decades. And particularly for those of you that are younger, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, this whole concept of job security that maybe your parents or grandparents have been preaching to you about your career choice, your career path. For generations, parents and grandparents would tell younger family members, get a career where you can have job security and benefits. I think for many of us, maybe most of us, maybe soon to be all of us, that is truly a thing of the past. The business world, the world of academia, the world of nonprofits is changing so rapidly that I don't know that anyone could consider any particular job or even a career path to be secure. In my opinion, our security needs to come from betting on ourselves. And I think that the best, healthiest, and most secure mindset is to think of ourselves as self employed, no matter who signs our check. Now, that means that you may decide to continue to work for others, and it's absolutely a valid choice. In fact, it's actually a better choice for the vast majority of people. I'm going to get into why that is in just a couple of minutes. But the vast majority of people are actually better off working as employees. Why? Because this whole concept of self employment, solopreneurship, entrepreneurship, small business, it just isn't for everybody. And I think the current marketing messaging out there that start your own business, work from home, embrace the laptop lifestyle. All you need is a solid Wi Fi connection, a reasonably decent laptop, and a good idea, and you can be in business. Well, it's actually true. If you have a laptop and a Wi Fi connection and an idea, even if it's not a great one, you can start a business. You can. Will you be profitable? Will you be able to sustain that business? And is it actually well suited to your skills, goals, and personality? Maybe not. But if you are listening to this and you have either jumped into, fallen into, stumbled into, got pushed into, or even were seduced into the idea of being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, coach, consultant, creative, small business owner, agency owner, independent professional, you brought some gifts and talents with you that you may not recognize are actually an advantage. Many of the women that I interact with feel almost apologetic about the fact that they are not what I call natural born entrepreneurs. Now, natural born entrepreneurs are usually people that really didn't have a shot at having a good career working for others. They were either too impulsive, too or disorganized, needed things to move at too fast a pace. There's a reason why a lot of men with ADHD, diagnosed or not, have become entrepreneurs because people with ADHD can be difficult to manage. They can be disorganized, they can be impulsive, they can be distractible, they can change their mind a lot. They may have a really hard time getting things done on time. They may have difficulty dealing with others. But one thing they do have is the ability and willingness to take risks and the resilience that comes from taking a lot of risks and making a lot of mistakes. Now, if you can't stay till the end of this live stream, I'm going to give you a mic drop moment right here and now. Are you ready? If you are an accidental entrepreneur, meaning you've already had a career in academia, in the nonprofit world, in the corporate world, you've already had a successful career there or even a moderately successful career there. And you've either decided to start your own business or you were laid off, pushed out, had too many conflicts between your job and your other responsibilities, AKA the rest of your life, or simply decided to give it a go. And if it didn't work out, you could always get a job. The most important thing you need to do to increase your chances of success as an entrepreneur are to take more risks and to learn to dance with failure. Something I have learned over the years, and I cannot emphasize often enough, is that most males have more experience with risk taking and failure than most females. At least if you have been raised in the last few decades in the Western part of the world, chances are, if you're a girl, you have been conditioned to avoid making mistakes. If you're a boy, you have been conditioned to take risks. Now, these are broad, sweeping generalizations, and there are countless exceptions to the rule. But women who come to entrepreneurship after a career in another venue, that is the thing they need to learn and the mindset shift they need to make that makes the biggest difference. Learning to take more risks, learning to dance with failure, and not making failure mean anything about our ability to be successful as entrepreneurs. There you have it. Bottom line, that's the most important thing. Now, how do you get better at taking risks and how do you get better at dancing with failure? By doing it. There are countless blogs, books, podcasts, courses, coaching programs that are devoted to helping women deal with perfectionism, procrastination, people pleasing, imposter complex, and all of that is great and wonderful and necessary. But if it stays intellectual, if it's something you're learning about yourself, like a lot of people are learning that they have rejection sensitivity. Okay, cool. You're sensitive to rejection. It's going to be really, really hard to know that about yourself and not do anything about it if you're going to be in business. Why? Because in order to be successful, you have to take risks. When you take risks, there's a possibility you're going to be rejected. It's a possibility that you're going to fail. In fact, it's probable that you're going to fail because you're not going to be able to do the exact right thing in the exact right way first time, every time. It's impossible. Nobody can do it. So the people who end up succeeding in self-employment, in solopreneurship, in entrepreneurship, at any level of any size business, have learned to take risks, to accept failure, and to continue to move forward. So all of the things that we need to learn how to deal with and manage better, the things that, frankly, most women struggle with, especially women who are accustomed to being successful. If you have been successful in corporate life, if you have been successful in nonprofits, if you have been successful as an independent professional, lawyer, doctor, accountant, therapist, if you have been successful in academia, you probably have a lot of traits of perfectionism, workaholism, people pleasing. You can create success with those traits. You'll also probably be on the path to burnout, which may be one of the reasons why you decided to work for yourself. So, what are the strengths we bring to the entrepreneurial table that natural born entrepreneurs lack? What I've seen with the people that I work with, who are largely women who are transitioning or have transitioned from success in another arena to starting their own business or growing their own business or scaling their business, is this. We already know how to work with other people. Whatever size organization you've been a part of, you have worked with people above you, people below you, and people at your level. This requires a different skill set for each of those groups, managing up, managing down, and peer relationships. That's a rich tapestry of social and interpersonal skills that you bring with you. I have met many, many people who enjoy working in startups, who enjoy working with entrepreneurs, but they will often have these complaints. They're brilliant, they're revolutionary. I love the way their mind works. They're impossible to deal with on a personal level. Because the kind of people who are natural born entrepreneurs who have never learned those social and interpersonal skills, maybe think they are unnecessary and slow them down, they have a hard time dealing with customers and they have a hard time managing a team. You probably have an advantage in that area. You also know how to work with different stakeholders in a variety of ways, collaborating, resolving conflict, brainstorming. These are wonderful skills that you bring with you. I'll tell you what else I know you know how to do. Deal with frustration, inefficiency, disorganization. None of us have been lucky enough to be in organizations that literally have all their shit together. So you know how to work in, work through, and work around those kinds of obstacles. You know how to deal with short-term projects, long-term projects, intermediate projects. You know how to switch gears at a moment's notice or no notice at all. You know how to plan and organize your time and energy so that you can meet objectives. Now, it can be different and more challenging when you are the one who also sets those objectives and holds yourself accountable. One of the things that I help a lot of my clients with is, especially those with ADHD, they may say they hate the structure and all the rigid confines of being employed by others. And they just crave the freedom and the flexibility and the spontaneity of working for themselves. But what they find out is they actually need that structure. They actually need those systems, those limits, those boundaries, those deadlines, that accountability. They need those things in order to perform at their best. Once they step away from the job or the career, and now they're the one who has to determine what the goals are, when they need to be achieved, what the benchmarks are, what the priorities are. And they also have to create the systems and the accountability for themselves. That can be really challenging. Most of us who have been successful in other venues and become accidental entrepreneurs would do very well to stop referencing our past career when thinking about what we do now. And here's what I mean by that. I still do this to some degree, to be honest with you. Um, you tend to bring a lot of your previous career's mindset with you when you start something new, and you reference it when you're doing what you're doing now. It's not always helpful. It's completely expected that you're going to bring your previous mindset and expectations with you. But let's say, for example, let's say that you were working as a marketing director for a company and they were paying you $80,000 and they were charging your clients X number of dollars for your work. You may think when you come over and start your own agency doing the exact same work that you would charge the same amount. But in fact, it may not be the right pricing. You may need to think very differently about how to package your services, who to sell them to, and how much to sell them for. What a lot of people do is think, well, I did it over here and now I'm going to do it over there without really realizing the difference in scale that makes all the difference in your business model, your pricing structure, and more. If you happen to be an accidental entrepreneur, you may also need to do a little work around your beliefs about what you're capable of. It makes all the sense in the world that you might think, well, I never intended to run my own business and I don't really know what I'm doing. And the only reason why I'm working for myself is that I'm too old or too expensive or too whatever for anyone to hire me. That is not going to serve you. If you need to do some grief work around getting pushed out of your former career, do that. But don't think that that's going to automatically happen for you in your business. Another thing I see as an advantage for those who have been successful elsewhere that they bring into entrepreneurship is delayed gratification. The ability to delay gratification. This is extremely beneficial when you start your own business because so many of us, I mean, we get exposed constantly to the marketing messages that self-employment, working for yourself, starting a business, especially starting a business online, is easy, fast, fun, lucrative, mostly passive, and anyone can do it. That's not actually true. And it sets people up for some really unrealistic expectations. You have skills, you have talents, you have abilities, and many of them can be transferred right into self employment. But if you're thinking this is going to be easy, fast, fun, and painless, think again. There are a lot of adjustments to be made. And while I would never want to go back, it did take some time to transfer my skills and to change my mindset. A lot of professionals that I've worked with came up with the belief system that it's unprofessional to promote yourself. If you do good work, people will notice and that will make you successful. Mm-mm. You do have to market yourself and you do have to promote yourself once you work for yourself. That can take some getting used to. But you probably know a whole lot more than you give yourself credit for. And if you compare yourself to other people who have been doing it a whole lot longer or who simply don't have any trouble with marketing, selling, promotion, or failure, you're going to need a little more time to get there. A lot of my clients who deal with perfectionism, procrastination, imposter complex, and rejection sensitivity really, really, really benefit from working with someone or and being part of a group. It can be really lonely when you leave the corporate workplace or you leave the university where you teach or you leave the nonprofit whose values and mission you're deeply aligned with to go out on your own. So please do surround yourself with some other people who have made the transition as well. Because one of the reasons why it can really take a long time and be very discouraging to figure things out once you're on your own as an accidental entrepreneur is that you miss the social aspects of the workplace. Now, it's been 3 years now since the COVID pandemic started, and it has created massive, massive shifts in the world of work and how people do their work, where they do their work, what they consider work. Not everybody is suited to working by themselves. Not everybody is suited to working for themselves. People that despise marketing and selling would probably be better off with a job or as a freelancer or contractor working for others. If you want help figuring this out, if you want help setting up shop, if you want help evolving the business that you've already started so that it can be more profitable and less of an emotional lift, reach out to me. If you aren't already listening to the Driven Woman Entrepreneur podcast, do yourself a favor. Follow it, subscribe to it. It's free. And based on the reviews that I get and the DMs that come in week after week after week, it has really helped so many self employed women have the motivation and the inspiration and feel seen and understood and supported to keep going. So I invite you to follow me there and to join me next week for yet another live stream. I'm going to go celebrate my birthday now. What are you doing?